أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 37, Surah Kahf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا. His companions said to him as he debated with him, do you disbelieve in him who created you from dust, then from a drop of seminal fluid, then fashioned you as a man? Now, this is the continuation of the story of the two men who were somehow accompanying each other, friends or relatives or whatever. It's not mentioned in this story. And one of them was very rich. He had two very lush gardens with palm trees surrounding it and farms between the two, rivers flowing. And the other one, of course, was poor. And they were debating about the philosophy of life, about God and such things. And apparently the rich man was trying to convince his poor companion that if all these are given to me, first of all, it's due to my own talent and work. And secondly, what you talk about hereafter and the requital and punishment and reward is all in this world. This is all. This is what I have. And supposing that what you say is true, if I return to my Lord, if with my talent I have been able to acquire all these, there I will find something better as well, better than this. Now, the reply of this poor companion is, of course, a reply which suggests that he was a very knowledgeable man. He was a very pure-hearted person. And apparently God had given him knowledge to talk in this vein. So in the debate, and God emphasizes that this was a debate running between them. وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ. They were debating with each other. And the debate was about, as I said, God, philosophy of life, and such things. So in the rebuttal of what he said, his friend, قَالَ لَهُ صَاحِبُهُ, this man said, while he was debating, أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا. Now, you are rejecting kufr. Of course, we translate kufr as disbelief, but it is a disbelief which is initiated by rejection. And rejection may be in different ways. Sometimes, for example, we reject to offer thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one type of kufr, which is mentioned in the Quran as well. Sometimes we reject to obey God, to follow His instructions. While we believe in Him, we reject to obey Him. This is another type of kufr. In a very beautiful hadith, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam mentions different meanings for kufr. One of them is kufr al-ilhad. One of them is disbelief. The other meanings of kufr are ungratefulness, disobedience to the Lord. This man, the rich man, apparently he believed in God because he said, وَلَئِنْ رُدِدْتُ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي, if I return to my Lord. So he was believing that God was his sustainer. There was a God, first of all, and God is the creator and sustainer of the world. However, he did not believe that everything is in the hands of this supreme creator. And he thought that power is somehow depending on him rather than on the Lord. In a sense, he was rejecting the, of course, omnipotence of God, and also he was rejecting requital. the Day of Judgment. Rejecting the Day of Judgment is in itself a kufr, as Allah has mentioned in several places in the Quran, because it is rejecting God's wisdom. If we believe that God has created this world, and we just come, live for a while and go, and we do all these mischiefs that we see in the world, injustice, we wrong each other, and then nothing will happen. And especially the world is somehow finishing just as it is here, then we are questioning, in a sense, the wisdom of God. And we believe that God is just playing around with us, playing around with this creation. And this is in itself a type of kufr. So what the rich man said, he said, ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا. First of all, I think that this world will continue forever, and these things are not going to perish. Secondly, supposing that لَإِنْ رُدِدْتُ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي, I go back to my Lord. I die, and then I come back to life and go back to my Lord. He believed in God, he believed in his Lord, but he rejected that there is going to be any justice day. Now, here the man says this is kufr. His companion, who apparently they were friends with each other a long time. What we understand from the story is that this rich man was not rich all the time. They were together, they were friends, and suddenly one of them became very rich. And now he says, now that you have become rich, you reject your Lord. أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا. Now, this other part of his sentence, the one who created you from dust, then from fluid, from nutfa, from water, a drop of water, and then made you a whole man, ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا, is in itself an argument to prove that there is a return to God. Because if you see this process of your gestation, your growth, coming to this world, the gradual process of you becoming a man, if you regard this, you would realize that this process is not going to end. You are gradually growing into something. And why do you think that it would stop somewhere? You have become a whole man, and you will become more and more afterwards. Two things are very important here. First of all, this gradual process tells us something about the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we are going gradually towards something. As it's mentioned in Surah Hajj, Ya ayyuhan nas, in kuntum fi raybin min al-ba'th. If you have any doubt about resurrection, look, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ مِن عَلَقَةٍ. So look, how have we created you? We created you from dust, and then from nutfa, from the drop of water, then from alaqa, then from mudgha. Look, this process. Then you came to this world as child, then you grew to a man, then you grew older and older, and you somehow regressed in your power and in your life. And then, of course, this should tell you how I am going to create you towards the resurrection, take you towards the resurrection. So this gradual process, first of all, is something which tells us that we should not take it for granted that, death is the end of it, that death is the end of this process. The second thing that is understood from this argument, خَلَقَكَ مِن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا, is that you say that I am more in number, I am more in possession, and I have created all these things. Look at your origin. If you look at your origin, you would see that you are nothing. You were nothing. You did not bring anything to this world with you. It's true. When we came to this world, we did not bring anything with us. Even if we think before that, we were, of course, nothing. We were just a drop of water, and then we grew into whatever we are today. Looking at the origin always invokes something in man's mind that, look, first of all, do not worry about this world. You did not bring anything with you to lose anything. We have been given things here free of charge, and therefore we are not going to lose anything. Secondly, we were nothing to think that we have we can initiate anything. We are the source of any power, any meaningful change. We are not source of anything. This verse in Surah Dahr is very thought-provoking. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Does man consider a time when he was not anything to be mentioned? Anything to be mentioned, meaning that no one even could imagine that someone like me, Bahmanpour, is going to come to this world. Neither my parents could have imagined, nor anyone else before I was conceived. So I was nothing whatsoever. Does not man consider this, that he was nothing? Then, of course, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We made man from a nutfa, which was a combination of different things. Of course, that nutfa, that water from which we are created, is a very complicated sort of thing. It has many different elements from which a man could be created. Min nutfatin amshajin. Then nabtalih, we put it into different phases. Then we made it hearing and seeing, to hear and to see. Then we have become a whole person. Now, this man is saying, are you really rejecting all these things? The one who created you, the one who put you into this process. Now you have become a whole man, and you think that you are someone. You think that you are a source of some power or anything else. So, أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ مِن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا. لَكِنَّ. This is one of the words in the Quran which is a bit out of ordinary, because this lakinna has an alif at the end. It's written lakinna, but it's read lakinna, means lakin ana, but I, what I say. You are saying that, okay, but what I say, lakinna huwa Allah rabbi wala ushriku bi rabbi ahada. I say that He, Allah, is my Lord, is my sustainer. And I do not associate anyone with my Lord. Now, the rich man was saying that he is my Lord as well, isn't he? He was saying the same thing. لَإِن رُدِدْتُ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. If I return to my Lord, my sustainer, I will find something better than this. Now, he says that apparently you are associating yourself with the Lord. Other things, and most importantly, you are associating yourself with your Lord. This is one of the things that we have to always bear in mind. We may not worship idols. We may not believe in anything in this world being, for example, a sort of having a complex, enigmatic power, like, for example, some superstitious people may think. But we usually think that we are sources of power beside Allah. We can do things beside Allah. We are associating ourselves with God, with the power of God, with the wisdom of God. And that's why many a time we question His wisdom. Many a time we think that He is wrong in doing certain things. Things could have been better. The modern world, which has rejected the supernatural completely, which has rejected, of course, they are not worshipping idols. Part of the world, of course, the modern world, worship idols, and the secular people are not worshipping anything at all. We think that they are not worshipping anything, and we think that they are not associating anything with God, while the modern man has made himself an associate of God, thinking that we are, first of all, has made the nature to replace God, and secondly, we rely on ourselves as powerful, as independent beings that could do things. This is what this man probably is saying. There was no mention of shirk previously in the sayings of that man. He never said there is someone else who's providing me. He said that I don't think this is going to perish. This is what I'm given. If I go back to my Lord, I will find something better. There's no question of shirk there. However, why he brings shirk here? Because the shirk was that the man was associating his own talent and power with the Lord. So, لَكَنَّ هُوَ اللَّهُ. I say that Allah is my sustainer. I'm not independent. I cannot decide for myself. وَلَا أُشْرِكُ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. I never associate anyone to my Lord. Now, the man might say in his debate, of course, when a conversation is quoted in the Quran, not the whole conversation is quoted. If a story is quoted in the Quran, not the whole story is mentioned, just the most important parts. Apparently, of course, the discussion between these two should have been very long, but the Quran quotes those very important points. Now, the man didn't say that I am a mushrik or I believe in something else. Now, he is explaining why you are associating yourself with the Lord. وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Why, when you entered your garden with me, he was, as I said last week, he was taking him a tour of his gardens to show him what he has achieved in the world, what his talent has achieved, and then to somehow defeat him in the argument, in that debate. So, yes, we came into the garden, I saw how rich you are, how lush these gardens are, how nice are they made, but you said that I have made it. Why didn't you say when you entered your garden, when we entered together, لَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ, meaning هَذَا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. Why didn't you say, this is what Allah has willed? Because, of course, we may will things, we may do things, but unless Allah approves it, unless Allah wishes it, they never happen. Now, you thought that it was your power. Why didn't you say, هَذَا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. There is no power but for the Lord. Now, this is what most of people do not understand. When we say there is no power but the Lord, then they say, if there's no power but the power of the Lord, the power of God, then why we see people independently are acting, they do things. Even things in nature have their powers, the angels have their powers, human beings have their powers. If we think that all power belongs to God, then we should do nothing and leave everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the confusion that we usually have. The best explanation given for this is by Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha, when he says, بَلْ هُوَ الْمَالِكُ لِمَا مَلَّكَكَ. Yes, we have many things. We have things in our possession, but we are Malik, we are the possessor, but Allah is the possessor over us. He owns whatever we own. This ownership is not somehow delegated to anyone. This ownership is a sort of vertical ownership. We own, but what we own, Allah owns as well. وَالْقَادِرُ عَلَى مَا عَلَيْهِ أَقْدَرَكَ. He has the power over what He has given you power of it. So we have power, we do things, but this power does not originally belong to us. It belongs to Allah. He allows us to use it. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Him. He allows us to use it. Therefore, the meaning of La quwwata illa billah. There is no power in the world. There is nothing that could be done, could be source of anything, except with that lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is pure Tawheed. First of all, mashallah, that's whatever is in this world is what Allah has wished, Allah has willed, and that's why that question of evil is always a very important question. If everything is willed by Allah, where does evil come from? Which is a different thing. And secondly, there is no power in this world. Iblis, does he have power over what he does? Yes, he has power, but that power belongs to Allah. He is using a power put at his disposal. That's the main thing that we have to understand. La quwwata illa billah. So, he is actually telling him Tawheed is this. Now, if you do not believe in this, you have rejected the Lord. أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ. You are rejecting the one who created you. So, a very strong argument he is putting forward. لَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ إِنْ تَرَنِي أَنَا أَقَلَّ مِنْكَ مَالًا وَوَلَدًا فَعَسَى رَبِّي أَنْ يُؤْتِيَنِ خَيْرًا مِنْ جَنَّتِكَ. Now, if everything is in the hands of God, I do not question the wisdom of my Lord, that he has decided that you should be rich, I should be poor, but things may not remain the way they are. If you see that I am less, أنا أقل منك مالا ونفرا وولدا, I am less than you in wealth and in children, then it may change. فَأَسَى رَبِّي. Things are in his hand. I rely on him and I believe in his wisdom why things are in this way. If you think like that, there is a possibility. أَسَى رَبِّي أَن يُؤْتِيَنِ خَيْرًا مِنْ جَنَّتِكَ. Give me something better than this. Of course, this man was not a worldly person that's thinking that God should give him something better than those two gardens in this world. He is saying that things may change when we go back to God, when we go back to the Lord. Things may change. He may give me better things than what you have in this world. فَعَسَى رَبِّي أَن يُؤْتِيَنِ خَيْرًا مِنْ جَنَّتِكَ وَيُرْسِلَ عَلَيْهَا حُسْبَانًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. Now, you do not believe that there is another world. But even in this world, God may destroy your garden. Everything in his hand is his hand. We cannot forecast, we cannot predict what is going to happen tomorrow. So, فَعَسَى رَبِّي أَن يُؤْتِيَنِ خَيْرًا مِنْ جَنَّتِكَ, better than your garden, وَيُرْسِلَ عَلَيْهَا حُسْبَانًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. And he may send a reckoning down from heaven. Husban, some people say Husban is a storm of stones and such things, but here he doesn't mean that. Husban is a reckoning, that his justice may fall upon you, his counting may fall upon you. Minas sama, from heaven, of course, because this is a spiritual heaven, not that something, stones come falling from heaven. Justice may come from heaven. You are rejecting the Lord, and justice may come. يُرْسِلْ عَلَيْهَا حُسْبَانًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَتُصْبِحَ سَعِيدًا زَلَقًا. So it may become a barren plain. Now this is what God has willed. He may change it to a barren plain. Apparently, the man, as I said, was believing that. He said, مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا. This is not going to change at all, to finish. There's no end to this, because I am putting money in it, I'm spending money on it, and it grows day by day. People are working on it. Now, the second thing that man is saying is that, okay, you are putting so much money and work and energy onto this. What if the water goes? The water is not in your hand. Now rivers are flowing, you have water. What if the water goes down? أَوْ يُصْبِحَ مَاؤُهَا غَوْرًا. Or what if the water flowing in this garden, in these gardens, sink down, go down, so that you cannot obtain it. فَلَن تَسْتَطِيعَ لَهُ طَلَبًا. No matter how many wells you dig, you may not find water. We have this at the end of Surah Mulk, قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين. You take water for granted on this earth. Of course, it has been there always. But what if this sweet water, fresh water that you drink, what if it sinks down? You see, we have two levels on the crust of the earth. We have two layers. One layer is soft, in which water penetrates, but the bedrock, which keeps the water, holds the water, is of course hard, penetrable, and water cannot go. That's why the water is actually reserved there. The water is gathered, and then we can dig wells and bring the water out, or the rivers flow, the springs flow. If that bedrock, which holds the water, was a bit, say, 100 kilometers below what it is now, we couldn't have find any way to bring these waters wouldn't have come and flow on the earth. We couldn't have find any water there. So the way Allah has created this, the crust of the earth, is that it's not so hard that water wouldn't go down, and therefore we always live in marshlands and water is on top of the earth, and not completely penetrable through all its layers, so that the water goes down and we cannot find it. It goes down to the center of the earth. So what if our تصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا أو يصبح ماؤها غورا وفلن تستطيع له طلبا. You cannot find this water if the water goes down, and you cannot find it. Now, incidentally, not as a result of this debate, after this debate, apparently this was something arranged by God, that this debate should happen before a calamity comes to his gardens. A storm came, something which destroyed completely the two gardens, the farms, the palm trees, everything. وَأُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ, and ruin closed in on his produce. It doesn't mention how. Something happened, and we know that these things are quite possible. Flood, storms, hurricanes, something like that. It happened that وَأُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ, the produce of. Now, أُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ means that the gardens were completely destroyed, or no, the gardens were there, but some sort of pests or something came, and all the produce of the garden were destroyed. وَأُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ فَأَصْبَحَ يُقَلِّبُ كَفَّيْهِ عَلَى مَا أَنْفَقَ فِيهَا, and he began to wring his hands for what he had spent on it. Means regretting, so much money I had put into this garden, so much servants of me put hours, days, weeks to create such a garden, and now everything is destroyed overnight by a hurricane or whatever. فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها, and it lay fallen on its trellises. Now, falling on its trellises, because they were vineyards, and vineyards, there are trellises on which the vine plant are put, so that the grapes somehow hang down, and they can it gives good produce. Now, either it may mean that the trellises fell and the vines fell on it, or the vine plants were still on the trellises, but the fruits, the produce, had gone completely. Fallen on his trellises, وَهِيَ خَاوِيَةٌ عَلَى عُرُوشِهَا وَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُشْرِكْ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. Now, here he confesses shirk. As I said, there is no mention of shirk in the above, that he was sort of worshipping anyone beside God. But now he realizes that he had made himself a sharik of Allah. يقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا. I wish I had not ascribed any partners to my Lord. Now, this man was lucky. He was very lucky because God made him to understand and to regret. And this is very good. This punishment came to somehow give him a hint, give him a sort of pinch that, look, wake up. What are you doing? Wake up. Where are you going? And he woke up. He realized. يقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا. Apparently, because this man was a friend of that very knowledgeable, wise man, as I said, it seems that there was a time where he was a good man. They were together, they were friends. Then because he became rich, he changed. He started to deny the day of judgment, the resurrection, and all these things. Now, this has brought him back to his mind. And this is the philosophy of punishment of Allah. This is the philosophy. God does not want to revenge. God does not want to say that, no, you shouldn't make any associate with me, otherwise I'll punish you. No. God wants to bring us back to the original nature of pure nature of man. That's why the punishment comes. There's another story like this, very similar, in Surah Al-Qalam. إِنَّا بَلَوْنَاهُمْ كَمَا بَلَوْنَا أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ. And this is a very telling story about punishment, why Allah punishes. Now, in this world and in the next world, the same thing. In Jahannam and here, it's the same. The philosophy behind it is the same. إِنَّا بَلَوْنَاهُمْ كَمَا بَلَوْنَا أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ. We are putting them, trying them the same way we tried the people of that garden. It doesn't mention which garden, but it says what happened, how they were tried. إِذْ أَقْسَمُوا لَيَصْرِمُنَّهَا مُصْبِحِينَ. When they swear that tomorrow we are going to reap the fruits of our garden. And they were haughty, arrogant people, and they wanted to have everything for themselves to prevent the poor coming and having any share in their garden. And the exegetes say that the story is that there were a few brothers, and they had a very good father. The father was very benevolent, very kind, very good, and when it was the time of harvest or fruit picking, he announced the poor to come, and he gave them a share of it, not thinking that everything belonged to him only. And these sons, these children were very angry about it, that why our father does this, and he is giving part of our wealth to giving it away. So when the father died, they said, we are not going to do the way our father did. إِذْ أَقْسَمُوا لَيَصْرِمُنَّهَا مُصْبِحِينَ. First of all, they swore that we are going to do it. وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ. And they didn't think that something may happen with the will of God. وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ means they didn't say, inshallah. They didn't, not saying is not important, what is in their heart. إذ أقسموا ليصرمنها مصبحين ولا يستثنون فطاف عليها طائف من ربك وهم نائمون. Overnight, when they were sleeping, just something went around that garden from your Lord, something which ruined it, destroyed it. فطاف عليها طائف من ربك وهم نائمون فأصبحوا. فأصبحت كالصريم. Thank you. فأصبحت كالصريم. It became like if someone had already reaped and taken the harvest, taken the fruits and everything. There was nothing there. فأصبحت كالصريم فتنادوا مصبحين. In the morning, early morning, they went and called each other, let's go. فتنادوا مصبحين أن اغدوا على حرثكم إن كنتم صارمين. If you want to go and take the harvest, it's the time to go. أنغدوا على حرثكم إن كنتم صارمين فانطلقوا وهم يتخافتون ألا يدخلنكم يوم عليها المسكين. When they were going, they were telling each other, today no poor should come around you. Anyone coming you, just hit them, let them go away. Now, when they went to their garden, they went to harvest to the farm or whatever it was, then فَلَمَّا رَأُوهَا قَالُوا إِنَّا لَضَالُّونَ. When they saw it, they said, we have come to a wrong place. Now, we have lost our way. This is not our garden. This is not our farm. This is not where we were thinking we are going. فَلَمَّا رَأُوهَا قَالُوا إِنَّا لَضَالُّونَ بَلْ نَحْنُ مَحْرُومُونَ. Then they realized, no, this is the place. We have come to the right place, but we have been deprived of the harvest. Now, after, of course, it continues. At the end, Allah says, كَذَلِكَ الْعَذَابِ. This is the way adab comes. First of all, because these people wanted to prevent the poor to have a share of their harvest. Secondly, it comes to bring people to their mind, as they did. فَأَصْبَحَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَلَاوَمُونَ. They started to blame each other. They said, we were wrongdoers. We were ظالمون. عسى ربنا أن يبدلنا خيرا منها إنا إلى ربنا منقلبون. Maybe our Lord give us something better because now we repent. You see, the repentance came as a result of this punishment. And this is the philosophy, كذلك العذاب. This is the philosophy of punishment. I do this so that you come back. Now, both in this world and in the next world, so that you come to what I have preserved for you, what I have want you to have in my vicinity, in my neighborhood. So here, of course, the punishment came, and the man started to regret. يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا. And here, وما كان له ولم تكن له من فئة ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا. He had no party to help him besides Allah, nor could he help himself. Because first of all, he said that أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا. I have more money, I'm more in number. Where are they now? Where is his money? Where are those people who he thought that he could rely upon them? There was nothing, there was no group who could help him. And then he thought that it's his talent, it's his power, it's his money which has made وَمَا كَانَ مُنْتَصِرًا. He himself could not help anything. Now, the conclusion, which we leave for our next session, is, inshallah, which is a very, very important verse number 44. هُنَالِكَ الْوَلَايَةُ لِلَّهِ الْحَقِّ. There, the authority belongs to Allah, the real, which inshallah we'll discuss in our next session. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Shaykh. We have about 15-20 minutes to further the discussion. Can I have the mic? Yeah. There's one at the back. Sisters, shall we start with the sisters first? Yes, sisters. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam.
You just mentioned that the shaitan had, Allah has placed at his disposal evil, right?
Yes, yes.
So even goodness is placed with him?
Sorry, even?
Even goodness is placed with him, or only evil is placed with him?
You see, evil is not created by God. He does not place evil in anyone or anything. Everything he creates is good. Where evil comes from is the way we decide to use that power. He has given us free choice, including shaitan. And because shaitan was a very powerful creature right from the beginning, and that's why he went up to the grade of angels, even archangels, because he was a very powerful creature and he had free will, he chose to use his power in that way. So evil comes from shaitan, but still the power at his disposal is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he has not discontinued the use of that power by shaitan.
Thank you. Shall we move to the brother here and then we'll go forward?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, it's on.
You mentioned that a human being or a person might do shirk in a manner that he considered as associate of God. What signs there that we can realize that are you doing the same thing or not in your own life? I mean, is there any indications that as a matter of behavior or actions or thought process where you can understand that I'm going that path where I'm associating myself with God? Because apparently you might be just thinking that you're doing ibadat of Allah and there's no sharik, there's no associate.
If in everything that you do, you believe that you are not independent, your power, your life, everything depends on Allah, and everything comes from Him, is decided by Him eventually, I mean, at Hunalika, in that very high place. Walaya, the management is with Allah. This is the verse we are going to discuss. Actually, the whole conclusion of this is that there is somewhere in this world where decisions are made by Allah. Though everyone make their own decisions, however, finally there is somewhere in this world, in this realm, the layers of creation, that decision lays with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we believe in that, first of all, we become quite reliant on God, satisfied with His decrees, and all the time thanking Him, and of course all the time saying MashaAllah la quwwata illa billah. This is the phrase that after every morning salat we have to say MashaAllah la quwwata illa billah. And it's actually, they say this is a very, very effective phrase. First of all, to give tranquility to the heart, and secondly, to make someone rely really and truly on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we have that, then no matter what we have in this world, or what we do in this world, we are obedient to God and we believe in Him, in His Tawheed. Otherwise, if we believe that we are doing things, and sometimes despite Allah we do things, this is something which happens. Sometimes we think that despite Allah we are doing things, that is shirk. And this is why it says, Wala in Surah Yusuf, Wala yu'minu aktharuhum billahi illa wa hum mushrikun. The majority believe in Allah, but they are mushrik.
Sorry.
Does the avoidance of the word "I" help in any manner to develop to the stage where you feel that everything is really mashallah? Because the usage of the word "I" all the time. If you avoid using it as a matter of even linguistics, does it help in any manner, or is it just?
You mean we don't use I?
Yeah, it's like.
You see, it's not a matter of words at all. Sometimes we may not use I, but maybe more arrogant than everyone else, you see. It's the matter of hearts. That is the most important thing, that the heart should humble and submit, no matter whether we say I or whatever.
We come to the sisters here and then we come to whatever.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. My two questions. One is, each human being, whether you are a bad person or a good person, the affliction comes on you. Have you agreed that? Is it in a human being?
Yes.
So it's very difficult as a person that when something is come to you as a result of your bad doing, or is it Allah is testing you? It's that's always a question. Another thing is, this is always bothering me that as we didn't know about our existence before we were born, as you rightly said this morning. In case of Prophet Rasulullah, it was being announced before, and even Christianity and the Jews, people knew that somebody is going to come. And so how this sort of a question sort of bothers me, that his existence in his, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his plan has already decided that the Prophet will come and he will be of such a character. So how does it sort of, in our theory of not being this resurrection or whatever you call it, is being, how would you imply that sort of a principle in that?
Yeah. Now, the difficulties which come on our way are of two types, as you said. Either they are trials or punishments, isn't it? But the philosophy for both is the same. And therefore we shouldn't worry about we shouldn't be concerned whether this is a punishment or a trial, because the intention behind both is good. As I mentioned, the philosophy for punishment is what? To bring us back to our mind, to give us a new sort of start. That is the philosophy behind it. So punishment may come. If we are people of Tawheed, we are not somehow not unwelcoming to punishments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we believe that He is actually doing things rightly, and the punishment comes rightly, and then we have to take our lessons from it. And if it's a trial to raise our level, that's good as well, isn't it? So eventually we shouldn't be concerned about what it is, and we never can know that whether it's a punishment or it's a trial to raise our levels. But we have to be happy, not happy in the sense that we don't feel pain or anything, because always we feel pain when trials come, but happy in the sense that we are satisfied with the decree of Allah. That is the most important thing, and leave the rest to Him. That's one. About lam yakun shay'an madhkura, of course there are certain levels of creation where everything is already known. For Allah, everything is already known. Now, prophets was known to Jews or to others, many, even previous prophets, because he was famous, because he was someone important. Otherwise, I was known to many others before as well, to many angels. But because I was no one, there was no mention of me, no one wanted to know about me. But about the Prophet, many people wanted to know, and that's why his mention was made. Now, that mention is different from what is mentioned in Surah Dahr, that before coming to being, there was no mention of someone with these particular things, except, of course, as I said, at that level of knowledge of Allah, which reveals to His angels, yes, things are known, and sometimes they are made known to the people. But still, Prophet, before coming to this world with all his particulars, he was not something mentioned. Until he was born, then we know that there was someone, a baby called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then this baby grew, then this baby became the prophet. There was a mention of a prophet coming, but this particular person was not actually mentioned by anyone before he came to the world.
Brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much, Shaykhna. I do not want to put a question, but I want to elaborate to what you said, if you allow me.
Very good. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I find that this is a real example for explaining actually of confidence and overconfidence of a person, of his ability or her ability. This is a very good example of actually people, what he says in the second man, he said, I did very well, and this is what he said. If I get the opportunity again, when I go there, I'll work hard and do as well, because he worked very hard all his life and did very big money and is rich. And he said, okay, if I have another life afterward, I'm going to work hard, and which is overconfidence. I want to relate this to an example I come across to show you it is also true. And also this guy is very lucky, as you said yourself, you said he was really lucky just because he realized where is his mistake. And I got an example like this for actually somebody. There was a very brilliant student, and he was very, very hardworking, and he did very well in his studies. And he get to actually to his level of thesis, and everybody was expecting that he goes completely through. He told me that before he goes to his viva for his examination, his parents, they told him, say tawakkaltu ala Allah, say on God. He said, this is nothing to do with God. I mean, I work really hard. If his thesis is good, I mean, I'm all right. It's a confidence, overconfidence, which is probably anybody, ordinary people, would they say the same thing. And he said, when I got to the exam, even was really is one of the best theses being submitted in that, the examiner found this very serious fault, not as a killing fault that failed him, but get him really the shock, which is actually something to do referencing, to do some of the theses. And he said straight away when I left the thing, they told him to rewrite it. And he said, like this man in the Quran, he said, I realize what a mistake. Shirk, this is not shirk he was a good Muslim, but he has overconfidence in his work that he got to an opportunity to see actually his mistake. And then he straightened up. And I think this is a fantastic example actually for us all, that even we do good thing in our life, we should not take it for granted because we are good, because this is, God gave us that opportunity to be there, and we should be really thanking God all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the real
Very
story.
interesting.
Sisters, before we go back to the brothers? Any sister? Any sister? Yep.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.
It is on.
It's on, yeah. I just had one question. I think sometimes we're at risk of falling into two extremes. On the one hand, we might think that Allah is this very angry Lord who just wants to punish us and seek revenge. But on the other hand, when we hear things like Allah only punishes us for us to develop ourselves and for us to realize our wrongs, we also fall into the risk of maybe taking our sins to be much lighter, than they should be. So how do we stop ourselves from falling into that? Yeah.
It's very difficult to actually walk on a balanced way in our lives, as you say. However, the point is, the sin have their consequences. The sins have their consequences. And the consequences come as a result of mercy of Allah. But the consequences may be harsh, and one may think, what type of mercy is this? Like we say, Jahannam is a consequence of mercy of Allah, but what type of mercy is that? It's very harsh. Ya man sabaqat rahmatuhu ghadabah. Your anger is always before you, after your mercy. Your mercy is before your anger all the time. Why? Because it's your mercy which brings these consequences so that we come back to you. If we can imagine what is in store for us beside God, then we accept every hardship to go there. We accept every hardship to go there. And even the hardship of punishment, the hardship of hell or whatever, besides what we are going to achieve, is not important. And this is the mercy of Allah. If we become so relaxed, saying that, okay, if Allah is so merciful, so our sins are trivial, is nothing, then we have to think from the other side as well. What if this small sin has grave consequences for me? Can I tolerate it? Is it not the case that through that system of justice and consequences for bringing me back, those consequences, instead of taking me back, making me a kafir, making me to hate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as this may happen to many people. Because this is a systematic thing, it works at a grand scale. It doesn't matter whether you accept it or you do not accept it. It doesn't matter whether you go back to your Lord or you do not go back to your Lord. Many people, they receive these punishments and they build up hatred against God. But the system is benevolent. Malignance comes from our own soul. So we first of all have to think that if the consequences of sin falls upon us, we may not be able to bear it in the right way, and we may be driven away from Allah. And secondly, every single sin, no matter how small it may be, takes us away from the purity. And it's only purity which can go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And why should we take ourselves away from Allah? Although He may be merciful, He may forgive us, but every single sin may take us away from Him. And we shouldn't choose that. We have to, of course, go towards Him. The other thing is that sin is ingratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why should we be ungrateful to God? Why? If He's so merciful, if He's so good, why should we be ungrateful? It is somehow very mean to think that, okay, I disobey Him, He is forgiving. Why? Just like if I have a very, very kind mother, for example, and all the time I disobey her, and all the time she forgives me. is it good to do that? Well, of course, it's not good. So these are the things that reflections that we have to make.
Thank you. Riaz?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much. Quite explanatory. Could I now take you to transport this thinking that we were just discussing towards somebody who I've recently met, and he's gone beyond a certain level, but we don't call it shirk. What it is, you might have heard of this before. God is benevolent. He will forgive everything. The thing is, this person doesn't want to tie himself down to praying and salat and sawm and everything. As I said, I'm sure you've heard of this before. So is this actually shirk when you say that God is so great and forgiving that I don't have to pray? In my heart, I have God all the time. So
No,
is that shirk or is that an excuse?
It is kufr. Kufr in the sense, of course, as I said, kufr has many different meanings. One meaning is kufr al-ilhad, disbelief, okay? And disbelief may be of two types, as Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq elaborates there, that one sort of disbelief is that you do not believe in God at all. Like as the explanation in the hadith is that, like the Dahriyun, they say there is no God, it's just in here illa hayatuna dunya wa namutu wa nahya. It's just the life of this world. There is no resurrection. There is no one. There is no creator. The other type of kufr al-ilhad is that you associate things with God. Okay. Now the other type of kufr is disobedience, and this is very grave. You see. Ibadah, worship. We say we worship God. What is the meaning of worship? The meaning of worship is not just to fast and pray. This is an instance of worship. You see, worship is different from act of worship, from instances of worship. Worship is obedience. If you obey God, you worship Him. If you disobey Him, you do not worship Him. Alam ahad ilaykum ya bani Adam, alla ta'budu shaytan. إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. Did I not make a pledge with you, O man? Do not worship shaitan. Because, of course, Allah ta'budu shaitan, because he's an enemy for you. وأنا اعبدوني, worship me. Now, who worships shaitan except a few foolish people that they worship shaitan, these shaitan worshippers? Just no one worships shaitan in the sense that doing salat or fast for him. They obey him. Obedience is worship. So if someone says, I believe in God, but I do not follow his instructions, this is not worshiping him, isn't it? So they believe in him, but they do not worship him. And not worshipping him is in itself a type of kufr. So that's why this sort of long-standing dispute is there among Muslim theologians, that Tariq al-Salat, the one who doesn't pray, is he a kafir or not kafir? Now, according to Shia, of course, theology, they are not kafir in that sense, kufr al-ilhad. They are fasiq. Fasiq means disobedience. However, disobedience in a way is one type of kufr in that hadith of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, not making him non-Muslim, but he is not obeying God. And not obeying God has its own consequences. You see, I believe in God in my heart, but I do not follow his instructions. Okay, you bear the consequences, no problem.
In the debate that I had with this person, if I may further this, he said, I have the belief in my heart, but Muslims should be given a choice of how they follow, as long as they have Islam in their heart, as long as they have submission. So, of course, I said submission means following. But then he said, whatever rules that you're telling me, they are man-made. They are imposed by whatever you call, whether you call following marja or whatever. So these people, now this is actually a thinking that's going on in places other than England. So he said you need to, submission is submission. So sometimes you can pray 20 rakats or 40 rakats in a day, the other day, okay, you don't pray. So he thinks this is this idea is that submission means submission from the heart. Now, when you say about practically following your submission, you're actually following a person. You're not actually following God's direct order. So, of course, that's an excuse from their part. But what do I say in response?
You know, this is, of course, something which has been come up again and again in the Quran, that after the Prophet brings the revelation, then this book is entrusted to human beings. Human beings, ordinary human like us, is entrusted to us. Okay. ثُمَّ أَوْرَثْنَا الْكِتَابِ. We made the book to be inherited by people. فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ وَرِثُوا الْكِتَابِ. After them came a group who inherited the book. Then how these people were? يَأْخُذُونَ عَرَضَ هَذَا الْأَدْنَى. They worked only for this world. They had the book. Now, this book is entrusted to us, okay? Now, okay, you say that only if the Prophet come and tells me I follow. Well, Allah doesn't send to prophets at all times. This book is in our hand. We are actually now the possessors of this book because we have been given this as an inheritance. Now, you say other men have made these laws. Okay, you go and find out laws from this book. We know that there are instructions in this book. Actually, the Fuqaha have, in very detailed way, discussed this, that, okay, why should we follow the book? Why? Why should we go and investigate that what is the law of God? We just believe in it. Why should we investigate? Well, the reason is that they say we know overall that there are instructions in this book, and we have to follow that instruction. We know that we have to follow those instructions, so we have to find out what those instructions are. We have to find it. We human beings, ordinary human beings. Now, someone goes and studies for years, becomes a marja, we rely that he knows what are there. If you do not rely, okay, you go and find out. But find out in a sort of systematic way so that when you talk, people would accept that, yes, you are talking out of knowledge. This is an informed sort of view about the book, not just a sort of precarious view. Now, why we follow the Maraja? Because we believe that they have informed knowledge about the book. Now, if you do not believe in that, go and find out. But it's very difficult, first of all. And if you say that, although I know there are some instructions of God here, but I do not want to know what they are, or I do not want to follow, then you know with your God. What can we do?
We'll have a last one from Dr. Ali, and then from sisters if there is anything.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Thank you very much. I just had a question about these two gentlemen that the story we discussed. Could it be interpreted that, so obviously one of them is showing off, saying, I've got a lot of gardens and I've got more men than you, and the other person reminds him. So the first part of my question is, can a mu'min, a wise mu'min, be capable of the evil eye? Because after he says, you don't know that a calamity may fall on your gardens, or the waters may drown, and then his garden, we find, is ruined. So is this a sort of an evil eye? That's the first part. And the second part is, can you be interpreted that actually this is God being very beneficent in a way to the gentleman, that he's destroyed his gardens because he's given him a chance to do tawbah from his kufr and return to God, whereas if he wouldn't have, he could have just increased in his kufr.
Yes, of course. That incident was a sort of benevolent calamity, so to speak, that brought that man to his mind. Otherwise, sometimes if the people are so evil, God does not make these things to them, does not bring these sort of eye-openers on their way, as we have in Surah Mu'minun. ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم, not any moment in some words, أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما. If we give respite and they continue, they shouldn't think this is good, this is bad, because if we do that, they increase in their sins, they increase in their disbelief. So it was a good benevolent sort of calamity. Now, about the evil eye, no, evil eye is maybe something not in control of the person, even the person who casts that evil eye. It just may come out of certain sort of wishing for that why, for example, this person has this. Even sometimes evil eye falls upon one's own children. You see, it's not in control of people. But this story is certainly not the story of an evil eye. It's the story of the person, because evil eye usually is there when there is a wishful sort of attitude in a person. Although not necessarily, but the story is not about evil eye, it's about the control that Allah has over things, rather than that.
Thank you. Any sisters? Is the last one? Anybody? Any sisters? Yeah. Shall we have
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam.
Thank you very much for your tafsir. I had a quick question actually regarding what one of the men asked before. About people who don't pray, or they say they're more spiritualists, so they believe in their own thing. I read something from Ayatollah Mutahari about not forcing the nafs, and he even mentioned in a small thing, I think it was in the book Adab Ta'lim wa Tarbiyat, and he said you shouldn't force your nafs to do something. I don't know if that's maybe relevant to people who are like that. I mean, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, we have actually in traditions that you should not force yourself to acts of worship. Those acts of worship which are voluntarily done. The acts of worship which are obligatory, whether you force yourself or whatever, you have to do them, because the stakes are so huge that God doesn't want you to be deprived of it, and therefore you have to do it no matter what. Then when it comes to voluntary acts of worship, to recommend it, we have in hadith of Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, inna lahadhihi al-qulub iqbalun wa idbar. These hearts have sometimes come forth, sometimes go back. And this we have experienced in our life, all our life. Sometimes we think that we are prone, very much inclined to do worship, to turn to God, to talk to Him. Amirul Mu'minin says, in those times when your heart comes forth, try to do as much as you can. Whatever you want to do, itikaf, fast, recommended prayers. But when heart goes back, do not force yourself. Just do your wajibat, the obligatory, and leave yourself to have some rest to your heart until it comes forth again. If I have seen some people who have tried to force themselves because they think, oh, we shouldn't lose the sawab of such things. They have forced themselves to recommended acts, and then it has had an adverse, actually negative effect on their attitude towards God, on their later stages of their life. So yes, this is what Ayatollah Mutahari says is quite true about voluntary acts of worship, not obligatory ones.
This sister, yeah. Okay, so if it's a very quick one, please. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add to her question. It's like a sub-question. Why does our soul or nafs have those episodes of going closer to Allah, and then other episodes of not being that spiritual? Why is it like that, and is it naturally like that, and how so? Because we're already battling the age that we live in, and we're already battling against shaitan, who seems to be really experienced with how the human mind thinks. Is this another challenge, that our soul is created that way?
It is another challenge, and you know why qalb is called qalb, as they say. Qalb means to turn, isn't it? And the heart, which is the soul actually, the spiritual heart, the whole heart is called qalb because it all the time turns. And it turns because of supreme wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we have in the hadith, qalbul mu'min bayna isba'i ar-Rahman. The heart of the believer is between two fingers of the Lord. He turns it. for some wisdom that we don't know. Okay? The only thing is that when the heart turns towards him, إِنَّ لِرَبِّكُمْ فِي أَيَّامِ دَهْرِكُمْ نَفَحَاتٍ, your Lord has breezes towards your heart during your life. أَلَا فَتَعَرَّضُوا لَهَا, expose yourself to it. وَلَا تُعْرَضُوا عَنْهَا, do not turn away. Then when the heart goes back, maybe that's a test whether we continue worshipping him or we do not continue worshipping him. And then these intervals will become more and more in terms of if we do not take advantage, the turning away may become more frequent. If we take advantage, turning forward to God may become more frequent until it becomes continuous. It becomes al-qalbul mutma'inna or al-nafsul mutma'inna.
Thank you.